Good morning, this is Sentinel's RV/GCR Daily Brief. Your daily read on the dinar, the dong, and the whole GCR. I'm Truman Vale, and I'm glad you're here. Look, I'll be honest, this feels like one of those weeks where the whole community leans in. Yesterday, we were all watching for Prime Minister Al-Zaidi to land in Washington, and as of this morning, the chatter is he's on the ground, meetings are kicking off, and the calendar ahead is stacked. So let me walk you through what's new, what people are hoping for, and what we're actually watching from here. Grab your coffee, let's dig in. Yesterday's recap where we left off. Yesterday, the buzz was all about this Washington trip. The Iraqi Prime Minister heading to D.C., the central bank governor traveling with him, and the possibility that this week could frame the conclusion of Iraq's long monetary reform story. That trip has now landed. Word going around is the delegation is in the States and meetings are already underway. One of the things making the rounds yesterday was that a meeting at the White House with Trump was penciled in for today, Tuesday. We'll see if that gets confirmed or if it's still being finalized. Either way, this is the week everyone's been circling, and the anticipation is real. We were also tracking the Indian nation's funding story, claims that they'd hit about 80% funded and processed, with the expectation that finishing that piece would unlock bond movements and then group payouts within hours or days. That thread is still very much alive this morning, so we'll come back to it in a minute. Iraqi dinar, the Washington meetings, and what comes next. All right, let's start with Iraq because this is the headline. The Prime Minister and the CBI governor are in Washington. The chatter this morning is that major trade and energy agreements are set to be signed Monday or throughout this week, and that completing those deals plus finishing the cabinet formation when the PM gets back to Baghdad is the linchpin that takes Iraq to the next stage. One of the things going around is a potential window between July 31st and August 4th when banks are expected to shut down for some kind of back-end work, and that August 4th specifically has been floated as a possible target. Take that with a grain of salt. We've heard specific dates before, and the timing has a way of evolving. The other piece is the rate itself. The thinking goes that Iraq's reforms, ASYCUDA electronic customs kicking in around July 10th, tighter CBI oversight on dollar banks, the US releasing frozen cash payments again after a 5-month freeze, all of that is building toward a tipping point. One contact is saying the rate could flip at any moment now, that it might even come out today or tomorrow based on supply and demand, or it could continue as a gradual climb. Honestly, nobody knows the exact hour, but the sense is we're very close to something real. And credit where it's due, the voices tracking Iraq's structural progress, the reduced dollar preference among citizens, the high-level U.S. engagement, they've been ahead of the curve on framing this as an active implementation phase, not just talk. So we watch. One administrative note. The Central Bank of Iraq has issued new directives on cash withdrawals of U.S. dollar deposits and foreign remittances, set to take effect tomorrow, July 15th. That's a real regulatory move, not rumor. It's tightening the system further and it fits the broader reform story. Indian nations, bonds, and the Tier 4B chatter. Next thread, Indian nations and bonds. This is the other story lighting up the feeds this morning. The claim making the rounds is that Indian nations have reached approximately 80% funded and processed, and they're expected to wrap up in the next few days. If that completes, the thinking is bonds roll next. Then groups like the Admirals Group can move, and within hours or a few days after that we'd see redemption center announcements and Tier 4B notifications. Now, and this is important, some voices are saying bond holders are claiming they received 1% of their payout on Friday, July 10th, with the rollout moving east to west in Asia already begun. I want to be clear, I have not seen independent confirmation of that. It's third-hand chatter and we've heard similar claims before that didn't pan out, so hold it loosely. If it's real, we'll know very soon because the rest of the dominoes would fall fast. There's also talk of notifications and appointment setting happening Monday and Tuesday, that's today, with exchanges possibly starting Wednesday, July 15th. Again, grain of salt. We've been hearing this week and any day for a while now, so let's stay hopeful and smart, not swept away by any single breathless claim. And look, this is exactly the kind of fast-moving story where the VIP side of the app really shines. VIP members can flag Indian nations updates, bond claims, Tier 4B timing, whatever they want, and the second something hits, it's on their phone. They're not waiting for me to tell them tomorrow morning, they know the moment it lands. And right now, VIP membership is completely free. That's a real edge, costs you nothing today, and it's worth grabbing while it is. You can set that up at GCRSentinel.com and we'll talk more about the app at the end. Zim and Dong quiet but still in the mix. Zim and Dong are quieter this morning, but they're still part of the conversation. The Zim chatter ties directly to the Tier 4B and Redemption Center story. The claim is Zim is meant for humanitarian projects, and if those appointments open up this week, Zim holders would be in that first wave. On the Dong, it's mostly riding the broader GCR narrative, no new standalone claims, but the assumption is if Iraq moves and the reset activates, the Dong comes along for the ride. We'll keep watching both. The story of the day, why this week matters, here's the bigger picture, the thing tying all of this together. Iraq has been in monetary reform mode for years, we've all been watching it, and frankly, we've all been waiting a long time. But this Washington trip is being framed by people on the ground, not just the intel crowd, as a conclusion point. The PM is there, the CBI governor is there, trade agreements are on the table, ASYCUDA is live, the cabinet is almost done. The structural pieces are converging in a way we haven't seen before. At the same time, the Bond and Indian nations thread is creating this sense that the back-end plumbing is finally moving. If both of those stories are true, and that's still an if, then this week could genuinely be the week. Not because someone said so and circled a date, but because the pieces on the board are actually lining up. Now, does that mean notifications are coming tomorrow? I don't know. Does it mean the rate flips by Friday? I don't know that either. But I do know this is the most credible convergence of real-world progress and back-end chatter we've seen in a long time. So we watch it closely, we stay grounded, and we don't lose our heads over any single claim. Today's outlook, what we're actually watching. So what do we watch for today? First, confirmation on those Washington meetings. If the White House sit-down with Trump actually happens, that's a big deal and we'll hear about it. Second, any movement on the Indian nations and bond story. If that 1% payout claim is real, we'll know fast because the rest of the community will light up. Third, any new guidance out of Iraq, CBI statements, cabinet news, anything that moves the reform story forward. And then tomorrow, Wednesday the 15th, we've got those new CBI cash withdrawal regulations kicking in. That's a real event, not speculation, and it'll tell us something about how tight the system is getting and how close we are to a clean monetary environment that can support a rate change. Between you and me, I've been refreshing the same screens for years, and I've circled more dates on my calendar than I care to admit. So I'm not holding my breath on any single day. But I am paying very close attention this week because the signal-to-noise ratio is higher than usual. Let's see what the next few days bring. Sign off and app invite. All right, that's the read for Tuesday, July 14th. Thank you for being here, genuinely. I know you've been in this a long time and I know the waiting is exhausting. But we're in it together, and every morning I'm going to pull all of this into one place so you can stay informed, stay hopeful, and stay smart. If you want to track all of this in real time, and I mean the second it drops, any hour, day or night, head over to GCRSentinel.com and grab the free app. It's a free download, most of the features are free, and you can turn on custom notifications so the moment something you care about lands, it's on your phone. You pick the gurus, the currencies, the kinds of claims you want, and you ignore the rest. And VIP membership, which gives you the VIP level alerts, the watch list the power users follow, is free right now. That won't last forever, so get in while it is. The app's coming to the Apple and Google App Stores soon, but for now GCRSentinel.com is the place. And here's something else coming very soon, VIP member Q&A right here on the show. You'll be able to send in your questions about the intel, about the process, about anything, and I'll answer them live. So if you're VIP, keep an eye out for that. I'm Truman Vale. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Stay hopeful, stay grounded, and let's see what today brings.